In this video, we will be discussing how to troubleshoot and establish connectivity between the iPonic controller and the iPonic cloud. So first things first, let's go ahead and look at the communication setup on this particular iPonic. Now to do this, we'll go ahead and hit OK, System Setup, Communication Setup, and then we'll go ahead and go to IP address setup. And as you can see, this IP address screen is blank. And if you were to go to server setup, it would also display the serial number and a blank registration key. So what we want to do is we want to populate this screen with a registration key, and we want to populate this screen with an IP address configuration. And we recommend that you do your IP address configuration with the mode Auto DHCP. So let's go ahead and hook up an Ethernet cable and let's see if we can establish connectivity. Now the way we're going to go ahead and establish connectivity is we're going to open up the iPonic controller and install the Ethernet cable on the COM module. So let's go ahead and open the controller. And as you can see, in order for you to have cloud capabilities, you do in fact have to have a COM module. Now while inserting this Ethernet cable, you want to look at the Ethernet port and you want to view the side on the right to make sure that a light lights up, which indicates there is connectivity. And then after you do that, just go ahead and close the iPonic controller up. Now as you can see, you have an IP address scheme populated with Auto DHCP, and if I was to go ahead and go back to server setup, you do in fact have a registration key. But on the other hand, you may come to the server screen and see that your registration key is in fact not populated, and when you get this error, that's when it's time to follow the following process on how to reestablish connectivity with this controller to the cloud. So the first thing we want to do is you want to go ahead and reopen the controller. And just what we'll do is we'll go ahead and reset the controller by hitting the little red reset button right here. Now that we have reset the controller, let's go back into the communication screen by going to System Setup, Communications, and let's go ahead and go into the IP address screen again. And the screen is populated and it is on Auto DHCP. And if we go to the server setup screen, as you can see, a simple reset did in fact repopulate the registration key location. If for some strange reason your registration key still does not populate this field location, what we're going to do is we're going to do some additional troubleshooting with the network that's attached to your iPonic controller. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go to the router that the iPonic's connected to, and we're going to go ahead and take a view of the pre-existing network. Now if you have a router in this network, you want to make sure that if there's additional devices such as switches along the path, we want to go ahead and reset the whole network strand and try to reconnect through this process. So the first thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and reset the router. So first things first, let's go to your router, and then we want to go ahead and on the router you can simply unplug it, but if the router has a reset button, then you want to go ahead and reset the router. If you have any switches along the way, you want to unplug and power down those switches as well. And you want to do it from the router to the switches, if you have any, to the iPonic controller in that order. Now after resetting the router, we want to go to the iPonic and we want to go ahead and take that Ethernet cable and we want to go ahead and replug it back into the iPonic, and then we want to go ahead and power down the iPonic, power the iPonic back up, and then we want to see if we have been able to reestablish connectivity by doing this process. after doing your network reset, you should have a registration key populated in this field as you can see it present right now. And by following this process, this will usually reestablish connectivity 99.9% of the time. But then again, there's still sometimes we do have issues that still persist. And when that case occurs, we have to take it a little step farther, and we would have to request additional information from you in order to get this situation resolved. But for now, we are in fact connected, and as you can see, if I go to the cloud and simply just type myiponicCloud.com, and we'll do that right now to test our connectivity. And we'll go ahead and type this real fast, and as you can see, by viewing this cloud, we can now add our controller to the cloud by inputting our serial number, in addition inputting the registration key. And that's our video in establishing connectivity with the controller to the iPonic cloud.